All right, so we took some questions for you from the animal pack, 4 of them. And first question is, M Ritter 3 wants to know, are you planning on competing at the Arnold in March?
I'm not. I don't plan on doing the Arnold this upcoming year. Having done the Arnold the past 2 years in a row and then also doing the Olympia this year, I feel it's time to... I would like to try to hit the next level. And I think that it's going to take at least a little bit of an off season. And if you look at the time between the Olympia and the Arnold, you realistically have October, November, December, January, February. So that's 5 months. Without getting into detail, if you take a couple months to yourself to clean out and recuperate and do the things that you should be doing to stay healthy, then that leaves you 3 months. By 4 weeks a month, 12 weeks. So 12 weeks, starting from where you'd be starting from to do the show, I think is very feasible that I could possibly come into that Arnold less impressive than I was at the Olympia. And that's, as a bodybuilder, that's not something I'm willing to do. I know everybody wants to see you out there, and I know everybody wants content and they want guys in the shows, but I also know what I'm comfortable doing, and I also know what it's going to take to improve and to be better. And I know that doing the Arnold is not gonna do it.
Solid Dreams wants to know, how's your daughter doing?
She's doing great. Honestly, she couldn't be doing any better than she is. I know everybody looks at their kid and thinks that they're the greatest, but when I look at her and I just look at how she's grown and how well she's developing, mentally and physically, my fiance and I are just so fortunate, for her to be so healthy, for her to be smart, for her to be beautiful. People ask us all the time, are you guys going to have another one? And we kind of almost feel like we would almost be greedy asking for another one. I mean, we already have so much. She's already given us so much that to ask for another one, it would almost be too much. But anyways, I mean, Alana wasn't planned, and we haven't planned anything. So if another one comes along, But yeah, in the meantime, she's great. She's really doing well. Thank you.
Angst wants to know, have you made any changes with your diet and training post-Olympia versus your previous off-seasons?
One thing I'm doing a little different right now is, and perhaps I've been a little bit influenced with everything that's going on with my father. For those of you who don't know, he has cancer, and he's had a reoccurrence of it. And one of the things that he and I have talked a lot about is the possibility that although the doctors are going to continue to treat him with things like chemotherapy, or they'll try to surgically remove the cancer, there's nothing that says it's not going to come back. So, he and I, we had a phone consultation with somebody who, an author of one of the books that I often refer to, really intelligent guy. And he offered a lot of valuable insight into the importance of detoxification and ridding your body of heavy metals, and just it really kind of gets you thinking about it. Really reinforces the importance of health. I mean, especially when you have someone close to you going through something, and at the same time being an athlete and knowing that your success as an athlete hinges upon your ability to train hard, to do all the things you need to do to physically perform the task at hand. Bodybuilding to a lot of people is not maybe first and foremost about health. And granted, as a bodybuilder, you sometimes are going to push yourself and do things that maybe aren't always the most healthy. But that being said, health has to be a huge part of bodybuilding, because you can't bodybuild if you're dead. You can't bodybuild if you're laying in a hospital bed, dying. And it's going to be awfully hard to put on weight, if you're doing chemotherapy or you have cancer. So it's reinforced in me the importance of taking care of myself. So to get back to the question, a lot of the things that the guy suggested to him, the detoxification protocols, things like that, I said, you know what, why not? I'll do it along with him. And it's been a couple months since the Olympia, and I'll be honest, I feel better right now than I can remember feeling in an off season in a long time. Like I feel great. I sleep excellent. I have no pain. Everything really feels good. My digestion has been great, and I've been mixing up my diet a little bit. I went back to some protein shakes here and there, just to vary the diet. Over the past few years, it almost got to the point where my off-season diet started to look maybe a little bit too much like my pre-contest diet, and it almost ends up like all year round you're kind of doing the same thing. So there does have to be some change, I think. I was always a firm believer in not doing cardio in the off season, so that when I would do it pre-contest, I would respond to it immediately. So I think everything has to be cyclical, whether it's your diet or your training, in order to elicit a change. Then the things that you're currently doing have to be different than what you're going to do when it comes time to change. So yeah, just a few things in the diet and running these protocols just to clean myself up a little bit and prepare myself for the next phase and growing again.
This is from Brazil. Guy's name. So would you do anything different for you, let's say, for the next contest? Or is it too early to tell?
It's a little early to tell, but I mean, I think at this point, having done the past couple of years, gotten ready for the last, so many shows on my own, I think now it's safe to say I could possibly benefit from having somebody else there, just as as a second eye. I mean, I'm not into turning everything over and say, here, I'm putting you in my hands, tell me what to eat and tell me every little thing to do, because that's just not, I don't believe in that. But I do think that combining what I've learned over the past couple of years with possibly someone else's eye and their opinion, that I could be better, and I think that if I've proven one thing, I could definitely be my worst enemy. So I think sometimes having someone there to save you from yourself could prove really beneficial. So as of right now, that's maybe one of the things I'm thinking about for next year is having somebody there that I trust who could really give me the eye that I need.
If you could talk about your off-season diet, what's your favorite protein, carb, and fat sources? And also maybe your cooking methods, if you use any special spices, seasonings, and do you have cheat meals? I know it's a lot in one shot. But.
All right, I'll start with my favorite sources of protein, carbs, and fats. For protein, I really like fish because of all the animal proteins. I mean, I'm not a big red meat guy. I mean, there are guys that love red meat and they can eat it multiple times a day. I can't even tell you the last time I had a steak. I mean, it's been, I don't even know if I had one during my Olympia prep. I just don't really feel great when I eat red meat. The digestibility of it, I don't think, is great. Chicken, I eat it because it's there, and it's I don't want to say convenient, but I can't just eat fish every meal of the day. So I have some chicken. Fish, though, I think is really the best option, considering the fact that, assuming you're buying wild caught fish, it's eating a diet that's most natural. And when you look at chickens and cows and all the other domesticated animals that are being farm raised and what they're being fed, I mean, they're raised mainly on a diet of grain and a lot of it corn. And I mean, we could get into the fact that all the corn in the country is mainly genetically modified, and what effect does that have on an animal, and what effect does eating that animal have on you? But without getting into all that, Fish, I'd rather take my chances with the oceans, which are unfortunately have become polluted, but at least the fish are eating a diet which is natural, and at least I can say from my own personal experience, I feel best eating fish because I feel the digestibility is greater, and I'm able to put down more of it. So, and I like eggs. Eggs are good. I go back and forth. Sometimes I reach a point where I'm saying, oh, I'm sick of eggs, and I cut them out of my diet, and I feel better. And then I'll go back to them. I say, I could kind of go for some eggs. And this is like, months down the road. And then I'll put them back in. Wow, I feel great. So I kind of just, play it by ear. Shakes. Shakes, I feel, have their place. I don't think that they can take the place of whole food, but I do think that they have a place. If for nothing else, they definitely break up the monotony. And doing the same thing year round. 6 whole food meals a day can get pretty taxing. And when you're not enthused about what you're eating, or you're not enthused about your training, it's really not good. So you do have to. I'm a strong believer that you have to do things that are going to keep things, for lack of a better word, exciting for you. So for proteins, yeah, fish, protein shakes. Chicken is fine. Carbohydrates, I really like rice. Rice digests well for me, and even at that, I like white rice. And a lot of people say, "Oh, don't bother with it because it's devoid of any nutrients, because the husk has been removed and there's no fiber in it, or it's generally devoid of minerals and things like that." That's great, but I have a hard time eating a lot of brown rice. It makes me feel bloated. I just don't feel as good, so I eat white rice. Same thing with potato, and this is something where I wouldn't let anyone tell you that there's anything wrong with a white potato, because from a nutritional standpoint, there's not much difference between a white potato and a sweet potato. And again, here I opt for the white potato because I feel a sweet potato makes me bloaty and gassy, and I just feel bleh. Carbs, Ezekiel bread, that's a great one. Sprouted grain bread. I notice I digest it really well. It's got a lot of fiber, so that's good for you. Keep you regular. What else for carbs? That, on a daily basis, that's mainly it, aside from, and also the vegetables. And I think it's important to have vegetables with every whole food meal. You should always be eating vegetables with your protein sources. I always say, if you can't eat a meal without drinking, then there's probably not enough vegetables in the meal, because if you have enough vegetables, it'll kind of give you the water you need to chew the food and to get it down. So that's about it for carbs. And fats, I get a lot of the fat I get is from the whole eggs that I eat. I will add extra virgin olive oil to some of my meals. I'll put it on vegetables and even on some of the rice that I have. What else? I don't eat a lot of nuts, because same thing, it seems like I get a little bit bloaty, or a little heavier in the stomach. But I do have some, in a shake, I might throw some peanut butter in, or some almond butter. I like that. What else do I use? Really, I'm just I just like sea salt. For me, the combination I like best on everything, whether it's rice or chicken or fish, oil, salt, and parsley. I like, and I've been eating a lot of cilantro lately. Reason being, it's supposed to be really effective for helping to remove heavy metals from your body. A combination of that, combined with chlorella and garlic, is supposed to be extremely effective at pulling heavy metals and other toxins out of your body. So in my eggs in the morning, I make a point to throw a handful of that in there. And same thing when I make rice, I'll take a big bunch of it and throw it in there. And it brightens it up. It gives it kind of a fresh taste. When everything you're eating is a lot of animal-based protein, all the meat and stuff, you want something to kind of like, at least me anyways, my taste, I like to kind of break it up. Otherwise, it just feel like kind of, sometimes you just feel like you need a salad. For me, a cheat meal is usually like, for me, you can't really top a burger and fries and a fully leaded Coke. I feel good when I have it. I'll sleep fine. The next day in the gym, I feel really, really good. And That's maybe once a week, twice a week. I mean, I don't have a huge appetite for junk, and I think a lot of it's because I'm constantly eating good things. So it's not like I never really find myself starving. But it'll be based mainly more like around my training, and if I start to feel a little bit depleted or beat up, I'll go have something to eat.